Hey everybody, welcome back to another Bands Beers FPL. Got a good one for this week. Obviously, a little bit of a triple header. So this is the third of three mushed together game weeks. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about this week, what our plans are, how we got on, and such and that. So as per usual, follow us on Twitter at Bands Beers FPL.
Thanks for watching and keep liking and subscribing to YouTube.
Hit that button down there. Yeah, so straight off the bat, we'll have a quick chat about beer, I think, because you've got a really good beer that we should mention. But we're not going to have a band this week, so we're just going to get straight into the FPL stuff because there's a lot to talk about. So, what beer have you got?
I've got Overtone 4 Candles. So, Sean and I, as you know, are very big fans of Overtone from Glasgow. And we were at their showcase, a little pop-up for their 4 birthday beers in the weekend, and it was cracking. Really, really good beers. And this is the lower end of it, 4.5% pale ale Overtone. They also brought out 2 8-ish% double IPAs and a 10% Toblerone Imperial Stout, I think. All very good. So if anyone can get a chance to get any Overtone beers, I would recommend them. But they've got 4 birthday beers out now, and lovely as always.
I like the pun as well. The old it's not as a what's this one of the old kind of comedy. It doesn't matter. I'm just getting mixed up anyway. All right, so points this week. You start off for you. I think you did not bad. Maybe the start of this week, but not so good midweek.
So, sorry, I didn't have this actually prepped, this bit. This week was annoying, obviously, with the blank, with City and Arsenal not playing, so I hummed and hawed for ages, and as you can see there, I took an 8-point hit. That was just to field 11 players because I had Madison in my team as well, who was suspended. I was kind of getting to the end of my tether with him. I thought I'd got the most out of him. I was happy to get rid of him anyway, so took out Madison. Who else did we take out again? I can't even remember, to be honest. But this was the 11, got 48 points, which I wasn't too enamored with. I thought I was going to do a bit better. Really wanted to get in Salah after his incredible display against a terrible Rangers and then a pretty good display against City, but obviously pretty disappointed in the end that he went back out playing really wide right instead of the sort of 4-4-2 that Klopp had played recently. I was excited for that. He did switch to that in the second half, taking Darwin off after about 60 minutes, so I was again thinking, good, we'll see Salah through the middle and get some points, but evidently we didn't, so I was kind of gutted I didn't get anything from Johnny as well. I brought him in last week thinking he was a really good differential, and then he sat on the bench against Palace, but not losing faith with him. I think he'll maybe sneak back into the team against Leicester. But overall, this week, even though I took the hit, which I thought was going to get me somewhere, Anderson I brought in expecting a clean sheet, brought in Salah and brought back Mitrovic as well, so I could play my 4-4-2. I kind of thought I would have got a little bit more, but this week I thought was all about sort of surviving because I wasn't playing a free hit. I've already wildcarded. I was struggling to get 11 decent players together. So to sort of get above the average, my overall rank wasn't hurt too much. It's 26k. I think I was at 17k at the start of the game week and then slipped to sort of like 28 and then it ended at 26. So still in the top 30k, which I'm super happy with. Hopefully we can start to build on that. Bowen, that could have been so much more. Like I had a bad feeling when he got that penalty, but if he'd scored that and held Liverpool to like a 1-each draw, I could have maybe got some bonus points. It could have been a real big rank booster, getting like 8, 9 or 10 points for Bowen, but Alisson went and saved it. I was really happy with Nico Williams getting those points. I just didn't expect anything from him. I was writing him off as a 1 or 2 pointer. So 48 points for a pretty an odd game week. Kind of regret playing the 8-point hit. I think if I hadn't played it, I would have got 43 or 42 maybe. So if I'd just stuck with my team, I wouldn't have been too far off. But I'm kind of set up now. I've got a team that I like. I got rid of Emerson. That was a player that I really didn't want to keep a hold of. He wasn't getting in the side. West Ham weren't keeping clean sheets when he was in the side. So Anderson, I think, has got a cheeky goal in him. Clean sheets sometimes, bonus points. So I think he'll be good to hold on to until the World Cup. So the 4 points I took for that, semi-justified, although I didn't get returns. And then Salah as well. I think I'm going to keep for a little while. So yeah, that was a lot to say about a pretty terrible game week.
I mean, mine's is just as interesting, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. Like I felt a bit of an average game week 10, game week 11, and then into game week 12. I assumed that I would be doing all right. So, like you, talked myself into taking a -8. I don't know why. I just went a bit cavalier. I didn't really need to do it. But yeah, decided to bring fit things about to try and get Salah back in. I don't know why I do it to myself. I don't know why I genuinely believe that he's going to do anything, because he never does anything for me. So I should just stop believing in him this season, because he's bit me in the bum so many times. So yeah, it was interesting. It's an interesting game week. I don't know why I picked him as captain. You know, my brother took Mitrovic and reaped the benefits, and I'm a bit disappointed. Really delighted with the defence. Brought Castagna in, quite happy with him. Surprisingly, you know, not a big fan of the old Leicester team, but Brendan seems to have turned it around a wee bit. So good result for them. Trippier has got to be, you know, he's got to be the heart of every single person's defence now. There's no excuse not to have him. Just absolutely brilliant. If you don't have him, get him in. You know, defensive returns, attacking returns. He is literally this season's Trent. So yeah, need to get him in. Henry, I'm probably going to get rid of. Like, I don't really trust Brentford. They've done a few things, but yeah, I mean, they've got good fixtures, but they've had good fixtures since really the start of the season, and they've not done anything for me. So yeah, with the wild card I'm going to play this week, looking forward to getting rid of him. Yeah, I think it was okay. Not a great game week, not a bad game week. Small green arrow in a lot of my leagues. So it was okay. Looking, I mean, the big thing will come this week when I wild card and hopefully really kick on. But yeah, it's kept me in touch with most of the leagues that I want to be in touch with. So quite happy with it.
Yeah, I thought that was a good team. Like on paper, anyway. I thought you were going to get quite a lot of points. The clean sheets were all over the place. It was good this week, but it was a week for a defender, so you got a clean sweep of clean sheets. I've seen when Harrison wasn't in the starting lineup for you, I was like, you could have been getting the Nico Williams points off your bench, but obviously he came on, which was a bit disappointing. Kane was who I took out. That's who it was. I begrudgingly wanted to took Kane out. I thought he was still going to do well against Man United, but United obviously performed really well, so I didn't mind getting rid of him.
Another thing we'll probably need to talk about when we go to kind of plans and stuff like that. But United are quite an interesting proposition at the minute. So yeah, happy with that. So let's go on to your plans for this week.
Plans for me. So yeah, you're going to be on your wild card. I played mine in game week 8, so I don't have one. At the moment, I haven't made any moves. This is sort of how I'm set up, with the obvious Haaland captain. Very happy with that midfield. Defence, I'd sort of be between playing Johnny and Anderson, with slight temptation to maybe squeeze Andreas in instead of Solanke. But I like Solanke being on penalties. He's getting the odd assist and stuff like that. West Ham, I don't really trust to be getting clean sheets, so I think Bournemouth can get some there. So I think I'll keep him. So the only thing I'll really change there, maybe Anderson for Johnny. Transfer-wise, I was pretty set on bringing Saka back in. I say back in, I've never owned him, but an Arsenal player back in. And I want to go Saka over Martinelli purely for the penalties and just the form. I didn't see the Arsenal game last night, but people were raving about him.
Saka champion. I've been championing him since the start of the season. It just happened to be Martinelli paid off for you, but Saka's the boy, man. Like,
yeah, I think Saka. Now that we know he's on penalties, and I think he's the main man. I know he's like $1.5 million more, but I was wanting to bring him in for either Bowen or Zaha. Couldn't really decide. Bowen's got the European games coming up, but he's got 3 decent home fixtures coming up where West Ham seem to be excelling. So don't really want to chuck him. Zaha, I feel, has got a little bit of form, kind of wishy-washy fixtures. These are the fixtures you just don't know with Palace. So I was edging towards maybe Zaha, but then with Saka getting a bit of a kick on his calf last night, Arteta did say he was okay, but I'm like, I might just go without him for this game week, and the away game to Southampton, it might be a bit more difficult for Arsenal. So at the moment, with sort of 24 hours to go to the deadline, I'm thinking about rolling, and then 14 having 2 free transfers, and then I can sort of get rid of one of these two, maybe upgrade Solanke or Mitrovic to get Gabriel Jesus in, maybe look at Man United have got a fixture swing, Everton fixtures are looking a bit better, although they're a bit crap. I think 2 free transfers next week would be really handy to have, just to muck about with some things. Johnny, I might lose patience with, so we'll see.
Yeah, realistically, I don't think you need to make too many changes. I think like your team looks pretty solid. Like you say, you've got bench options to come on if you need to switch out. The fact that you're actually debating with yourself whether to keep Johnny in is a good sign that you've got a strong options going on there. Even like Zaha against Everton is still a really good opportunity to get points. His form at the weekend was during the week was incredible. So I really hope he kicks on and maybe makes a bit of a sort of thrust of it. The problem for me is like wildcard. Zaha is such one of those players that I really would like to get in, but I'm like, can I fit him in? Like there's too many options now. For the other thing I was going to mention, obviously Wolves and Villa now managerless. Wolves would have been interesting if Mick Beale had got the job, who you'll know well from Rangers. Would have been an interesting proposition, but it'll be interesting to see who they bring in. Also Villa, if Poch comes in, do they then their players become interesting again? So they're the two teams that I'm kind of keen to keep an eye on to see how they develop going forward, because there could be some real opportunities for differentials going forward in those squads if they get the managers in and the form picks up.
Did Wolves not say the other day that is it Davis? I think he's got the job to the end of the season.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Michael Beale knocked it back.
Yeah,
all right.
Because he must have been their main target or whatever, but I think their form has been pretty decent under him. Obviously, they get beat against Palace, but they've turned things round a bit. Saying that, no, they haven't really. Not rubbish, ignore me. Wolves kind of worry me. I get that. So now if they're not going to be having a new manager boost, I'm not as keen on them as I was maybe like a couple of weeks ago. I'll keep Johnny now. It is a bit of a wait and see how they sort of like flatten out now that they know they're not getting another manager. Then they can maybe just focus on the management that's there, on their ideas, not thinking somebody else is going to come in and change things. So they could maybe settle down a bit and start picking up some points. So yeah, Villa, but definitely a wait and see. I wouldn't want to touch them now until we find out who their new manager is, what that style is, because they've got the players to be a really good team, but Gerrard just could not get anything out of them. So definitely right decision for him to go, and then maybe give it after World Cup. Maybe Villa might be on a radar, but
I'm interested. I'm very interested. Who is it they're playing this week? Do we know?
Spot them before I can. There, Brentford.
Brentford.
Okay.
Interesting game. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be a big. I think that could be a win. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, they could get a bit of a boost with Gerrard being away, and whoever's going to take over in the interim then might get some new ideas and get the best out of the Flair players. So maybe.
Definitely want it. Okay, so on to
the wild card.
The old wildcard plans. So I've actually put a wildcard together for once, being prepared mildly. And yeah, so I've got it there. So I've used planfpl.com. It's a really good free use site. You can go in and plan your teams. You don't need to sign into it, which I like. You don't need to use your sign in, so there's no hacking concerns. It looks like a really good tool. Quite happy I've been using that for a bit, just to mess about with wildcard templates. And yeah, really useful. So ignore the captaincy pick, right? Because that's no bearing on anything. I've just left it on that slot because I should have changed that, but I didn't. Yeah, so I'm going to quickly run through my reasoning a little bit about each player very, very quickly. And then I'm going to ask you about some of the alternatives that I've got for maybe the maybes that I've got in each section. So number one, I've got in goals. Obviously Josie Sa. Again, we just literally spoke about Wolves, but as like one of the better keepers of that price range, I'm very tempted. But Rhea and Pope are also in my thoughts at that point. So I wonder, what's your thoughts on if somebody's wildcarding, i.e. me? I mean, obviously Ward has to stay in. He's the best alternative option. I'm not doing the Everson thing, man. I just don't like it at all. I think it's probably the worst tactic possible because no, maybe that's unfair, but I don't want to do it. So yeah, I fancy Sa. He's been doing fairly well points wise. One of the best keepers for points. Fairly good price. Or my other alternative options, and that would be Rhea or Pope. So what do you think?
So I put a wild card draft together, which we'll get to. So I'll not tell you who I picked there, but Sa was kind of on the radar for picking that. And what I think you and whoever's wild carding this week just need to remember is it's only for 4 weeks. really, because you're getting another wild card here anyway. So you can
Mm-hmm.
we can all redo our teams completely there. So all we need to focus on is these 4 weeks. And for Sa, yeah, good fixture. These 2 fixtures here, or these 3 actually, are all very good. And then the Arsenal fixture at home, we'll see how they fare then. We just move us.
Switch to Ward for that one, you know.
Yeah, we could do. Just try to move our faces out the road so I can get this. So there was also Kepa. Obviously, it's got quite a lot of good form, but I was kind of like there's some tricky games in there for Chelsea over the next 4 weeks. I did like the look of Pope, who I've got in my team. Tougher fixture here, potential for a couple of clean sheets. Pickford from Everton, I don't mind that. I feel like Everton are starting to get better defensively. He gets a lot of saves. So there's 4 fixtures that are pretty handy. If we just ignore the FDR rate, if you're just putting your football brain on, Palace, Fulham, Leicester, Bournemouth, I would be tempted by him just for that period. I also liked even David De Gea. Chelsea, Man United this weekend is potentially getting 0-0 written all over it. Those games hit that probably once a season. And then they've got West Ham, Villa, Fulham. So David De Gea is in with a shout. I also liked even Alisson. So many people are bringing him in because he's got 29 points in the last 2 games. Crazy, an assist and a penalty save doesn't happen often.
I mean, how often is that going to happen though? I mean, that's it's
it's the same sort of thing. Like if your goalkeeper now, if it's for the 4 game weeks, try and target them at having at least 2 or 3 favourable fixtures. And there's Alisson, got Forest away, Leeds at home, Southampton at home. So all of those goalkeepers that I mentioned, I think are in with a shout. Like I'm just thinking the short term 4 games.
Exactly.
So Sa, good shout, but even Ramsdale as well. I liked him for these fixtures, but I edged away from him because I think you want your 3 Arsenal players to be the likes of Jesus, Martinelli, Saka, Ben White, what's he called, Saliba, somebody like that. So he's maybe taking up a spot. But Sa is as good a pick as any, and then I'll show you who I've picked once we get to it.
Cool. I mean, I like to share that. So I mean, that was obviously going to be reviewed anyway because it's one of those goalkeeper ones. I'll probably change right up to the last minute. But yeah, I like the look of that. Cool. So defender-wise, Trippier. I mean, if you've not got Trippier in your team, I don't know what you're doing. Like he's best bet. Cancelo, obviously price concerns because he is so expensive. But again, he's another one that's just absolutely up there as a must. Yeah, and there's a few interesting ones that I've got kind of dotted about. So obviously, Reece James being injured, and until we get word of what he's doing, it's kind of hard. Not you could include him in bench him, but you don't want to take that risk. So the players that I was sort of looking at in that particular draft, I've got White, Castagna, and Diego Dallo. So I really think Man United are a great shout defensively at the minute because they seem to be getting a lot of 0-0s, 1-0s, 2-0s. They're pulling quite a few clean sheets. Fixtures look decent, and like we just mentioned, exactly for De Gea, they do tend to have boring 0-0 draws with Chelsea. So yeah, Dallo's one of the ones I'm really intrigued by. I really like the look of. White, I also really like the look of, but I'm now beginning to worry, like, is that slot better to have 2 maybe Arsenal midfielders and a striker and Jesus? I'm not sure. What do you think?
As we said, yeah, I definitely like Man United, and I'll give you a spoiler alert. I picked Diogo Dallo to be in my wildcard team as well, so I do like it.
Good. What's your thoughts on then? So obviously, Trippier, Cancelo would be your sort of main your setup, basically, with the idea. Are you still there?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I had a wee technical issue there.
Yeah, so then I've got like the likes of Castagna, Cody from Everton as well, kind of floating in the periphery, maybe a good shout for clean sheets. So like you say, like we spoke about before, the 4-week thing really gives you that clarity of just picking whoever you think will do the best over those 4 weeks. So looking at form, fixtures, I really like Everton's, what they've got coming up. They tend to be set up quite defensively anyway. An interesting wee team. So yeah, Dallo, Cody, White, Castagna, all operating in that sort of area that I'm quite liking. So Castagna obviously just put in, didn't get many tackle returns, but he did get a clean sheet. and like I say, Leicester seem to have turned that corner. So it's
Yeah.
it's interesting. The only thing, Castagna obviously, is that big dirty crimson there with the Man City fixture coming up 2 weeks in. But yeah, I like the look of it. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, we'll be able to wait and see what you've got in your defence, because I'm quite interested to
I
see
think
if you're doing anything massively different.
something I like, which I think is probably similar to my draft, is like it's not big at the back. Like you've got your big premium pick, you've got your reliable mid-price pick, and then there's no wee enablers like Williams, Patterson, Emerson, because Patterson's injured, Emerson's not reliable, and Williams just can't keep clean sheets apart from the last week or two. So I like it. These 4.5 million players, there's loads of them. There's these three: Castagna, Dallo, White that you've said, mentioned Cody, even maybe Mings could come into your questioning as well. West Ham, I've got some of them, like even Gabriel's 5.1. The Brentford defenders, there's loads of them around that price, so I like that going way. Big hitter, Trippier, and then three sort of 4.5, and then spread your money elsewhere. A lot of people will be tempted to buy Trent, but I don't trust that yet. Spending 7.5
No,
on
I'm not.
defender yet. As much as we said, I
No.
looked at Alisson, but Alisson was sort of like, as a goalkeeper, what, 5.5 maybe? If you're wanting into Liverpool's defence, I think that's the safest option, like for the next 4 weeks.
Either that or like Gomez. Do you know what I mean? I think if you're going to go Joe Gomez, I don't think, as much as Trent may get you attacking returns, I don't think the extra money at this point is worth it. Especially if you've got Cancelo in there, there's no point in sticking him as well. Cool. So midfield wise, so yeah, basically I've gone for Saka, like we spoke about. Is a definite must-have. Foden now, I'm not missing out on the Foden train anymore. I need to get him in. I think City at the minute are looking pretty decent, so I'm not going to miss out with the old Foden. Andreas Pereira, best value midfielder in the game at the minute. I'd say, like, I just don't see any draft that I wouldn't have him in my team. He's been absolutely punching above his weight the whole time. In my version just now, I've also got from my other two midfielders, Mount and Almiron. So Mount, I really like the look of Chelsea. I've got a good feeling about him going forward. Mount looks like a much better player under Potter, so I would like to get in on him just now. I mean, that's still a variable, so I might change that. And then Almiron, I was speaking about this about 3 weeks ago, and one of my mates, a Newcastle fan, really touted him. And at the time, I had him on my radar and didn't push it. And look at the returns he's been getting in the past couple of weeks. I really wish I jumped on it at the time that he'd mentioned it, especially for that price. Like, it's an absolutely great price. But the problem with that is on the same sort of slots, you've got Zaha, Trossard, Martinelli, Bowen, that are all going to be in your plans and kind of like floating there about. And even to a sort of slightly wider extent, players like Rashford, who's an interesting choice. Yeah, and Anthony, Man United turning into a bit of a team, but attacking returns wise, they're not amazing at the minute, but they're beginning to go. And dare I say it, if the money was there, the old Bruno Fernandes, does he come back into people's thoughts, especially after that performance against Spurs? So it's a hard one, because the wildcard gives you that paradox choice. You've got way too many players for those set positions, so you just end up with kind of bouncing about. I've done about 14 drafts already. The one I've given you is the kind of main one that I've settled on. But I'm even now talking about it, I'm like, oh god, I'd like to go back and maybe pick a few more players. But what's your thoughts on the old midfield area?
Yeah, I like it. Saka and Foden, there's no point in even talking about. Obvious picks, everybody's got to try and get them. Andreas being there as the enabler. I can't remember if he's in the draft I've got. We'll see in a bit. Mount, yeah, I agree. I think like Chelsea do look really good going forward, and it's difficult to touch the defence now because of the rotation and not keeping clean sheets as much. So the only player I would touch in defence if he was fit would be Reece James, because of his attacking threat. So, and I think out of all the attackers, even though he got hooked off quite early, 61 minutes the other night, Mount is pretty nailed on. I think he's going to be playing a lot of minutes, and he can supply goals and score goals in those 4 fixtures, even though they're all greyed out in the FDR. So do like him, but I know what you mean. Like, there's a lot of options there that are really tempting, like Martinelli especially, Bowen, Zaha kind of on form, and then if you sort of look past maybe the Chelsea game, Man United have got 3 tasty fixtures, so I don't envy that decision. That's quite a tough one, but I like it. Mount's going to be relatively low owned, just over 10%, so that's verging on being a differential, so I like it. Almiron, like you said, for that price, like the returns he's getting seems nailed on. The only small problem I have is that St Maximin is going to be back fit soon. Like, I think, is he playing the left and Almiron's in the right, or the other way about? So is he definitely safe there? I think so. I do like, however, Bruno G. Watched a little bit of Newcastle the other night after the first goal went in when he got an assist, and he nearly scored. He had 2 chances right after that, and he reminds me of like Lampard. He's always popping up in these spots just at the edge of the box, and he's coming close. Like, he's close to more big hauls. I think he got 1 there in the 5-1 game against Brentford. So I think Newcastle attack is definitely worth looking at. I wouldn't really trust going somebody like Wilson. So Almiron or Bruno G, definitely. I like that. I don't think there's anyone that I would go for that we've not mentioned. I did quite like Leeds fixtures, but I just don't trust them. Like, just the 4 games, maybe not. I like these 2 fixtures, but if we're just thinking about the 4 games, it's not worth investing in. Not just yet. But yeah, I think that's the midfield sort of covered. I don't see anyone else that's really on the radar.
I do have one name that I'm going to posit to you, and I'm going to ask what your opinion is Salah.
Well, as a Salah owner, I'm now stuck with him, probably until the World Cup, unless I want to start tearing things about. If I was on Wildcard, it'd be so hard. Like, with me that I've got him, I'm going to keep him, obviously, because these fixtures that he's got there, like, he can score goals against Tottenham as well. There's got to be something in there for him, even a penalty. And I'm going to be happy to own him for these fixtures. However, on Wildcard, I know the gripes, like 12.8, like, it's that money can go so much further out. Like, if you were to take out Mount and chuck Salah, and that's 5 million, so you're all of a sudden going to have to be downgrading all over the place. Like, to afford him, you're probably not going to be able to have Jesus. You're probably going to have Solanke in there. You probably won't be able to afford Saka. You're probably going to have to downgrade to Martinelli. So if you're on Wildcard, it really mucks with your team. So I think if I was on Wildcard, probably wouldn't go for him. I'd probably look at maybe squeezing in Darwin or Firmino. Or if you really want to, even though we just said not to, go for Trent or Robertson to try and get into that attacking area. On a wild card, I think he's a really difficult pick because you want to get as much money spread out as possible. So it's just
I think that midweek game just really put me off again. Like, I think, like we spoke about before, that I think it seems to be that the City game was the exception to the rule rather than, the rule being broken. I think, like, it just felt a kind of one-off, and watching bits and bobs of that game midweek, I just felt like we spoke about, how far wide out he's playing. It really seems to be they want him to be a conduit for getting the ball forward to players like Firmino and like Darwin. So I'm quite happy. Like, it's 4 weeks. If he goes mental in 4 weeks, it's not going to help me that much. And then if I need to get him back in, I can get him back in. That Forest fixture is probably a bit of a killer, but looking even at Forest, man, they're much more defensive in the past couple of games. Like, I think that they're starting to kind of realise they need to tighten up to get results, and I feel like they might, and I say this now, and he'll probably go and score 4 goals, they might frustrate Liverpool a little bit, especially, I mean, that low scoring game midweek is a prime example. Liverpool aren't smashing teams other than, Rangers. So I don't imagine that going forward that will change too much. But then Forest and Leeds, man, like, Leeds are not in a good position either. So, and see, to be honest,
neither looks good as well, that one.
Yeah, neither are Tottenham either. Oh God, I'm talking myself into Liverpool players now. I don't think I do it. I think if I'm going to bring Liverpool players in, it'll probably be up front, like you say. It's going to be Darwin or Firmino. It's not going to be Salah. I don't care. I just don't care. Like, I put him in there at the weekend, put him in captaincy against my own judgment, because I should just not have him in my team at the minute, because I just know he's not the player he was, or he's not playing in the play the way he was anyway. So yeah, happy with that. Happy to leave him out. Okay, strikers. I mean, this season's been a complete turnaround for last season. Last season you couldn't buy a bloody striker, but this season we've got a solid sort of rotational of about maybe 6 or 7. So Haaland, obviously has to be in every single team. Again, no brainer. And then kind of float. I've picked Mitrovic and Jesus, but in that region you've got Tony as well, who you really can't ignore. You've got Solanke, who I would ignore, but you can't ignore. Wilson, is in there as well. Skamaka is on the cusp as well. I mean, obviously it'd be great to have Kane, but Kane just at the minute it's just a lot of money. I know he has consistent returns, but he's a lot of money for money that could go elsewhere, and I could get the same returns. So yeah, it's an interesting proposition up front. I think you could really go over it 3 or 4 different ways. I also like the look of Frencheri. He's not hit the header right, but the Palace are doing really well at the minute, and I like them. So they've got some good fixtures coming up. So I wouldn't be surprised if Frencheri made it into quite a few different teams. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I like the forward position, but for me, Mitro I'm probably hovering about with. I'm not really sure. I might, like I say, I might try and upgrade him to Darwin if I can. But yeah, Haaland and Jesus are definitely going to be in there. I cannot see past both of them, man. Like they're utterly brilliant. I mean, Jesus is just like a player transformed this season. So yeah, that's pretty much what my thinking is in the old wildcard draft. What about you?
Yeah, same. I agree. Like Haaland and Jesus nailed on. No point in thinking about anyone else. Then your third spot, Mitrovic, over the 4 fixtures. Like he ends those 4 fixtures with Man City and Man United. I would maybe pick him and then look at moving him on here, or you can bench him and play 5 midfielders if you've got a good enough squad. Everyone else you've said looks great. I think Skamaka is the one I would probably pick for that, like because of these 3 home fixtures. The only thing that worries me with West Ham is their European commitments, playing Thursday, Sunday, and I think over the next 3 game weeks they do that. It's Thursday, Sunday, so I'm like, what's kind of worrying me about keeping Bowen. But I think, yeah, Mitrovic is probably where you go just now, and then you could maybe move him on. Like, what's Tony's fixtures like? He's got Forest and City. Firmino, Darwin's got a wee flag against him since he came off the other night, but I think if you can get to Darwin for that price, I like his fixtures. If we get some news that he's going to be fit and he can play those games, then I think the ones that you've mentioned are the best options. Wilson I do like as well. But I think for me, out of those ones, I would go Darwin to get into Liverpool because the good fixtures and not having Salah. Second option would be Skamaka. Love to have Kane, but like you said, like you just blanked the other day, and then obviously it's a big price point that brings the same sort of problems as having Salah. So I'll show you my team because I've got Darwin in there. So in comparison, I can just bring the 2 of them up actually. Let's just do that. Well, we got different. So I went with Alisson, and just for the reasons that we said at the start, it's a good way to get into Liverpool defence without risking going with Trent or Robbo. Cody, we mentioned, who's on your radar, who could easily come in for Castagna, White or Dallo at that price point. And then went Gehi. But I kind of feel like for the price, I would like to have gone maybe White, but then in this draft, I've got Saka and Martinelli, which might be a little bit overkill. So, but as we said, like that, I think that is the structure to go for. Cancelo, Trippier, and then 4.5-ish million. I think Tarkowski is 4.5. So if you need to save a little bit of money, you could go him if you wanted the Everton. Midfield, Saka, Foden, the same. Bruno G instead of Almiron. Just from what I said, when I was picking this team, I was worried about Almiron's minutes, but probably is nailed now. He's been the best player for them over the last 4 or 5 weeks. So, and then a very cheeky punt over the Andreas, as a enabler. I just thought Gordon. I think DCL's fit now. Everton are starting to play a bit better. They've got better fixtures coming up, maybe a bit of confidence. So I'm like, he could be one that's going to come back on the radar if he gets a few returns for that price. People start getting him in. And then this was before Darwin was flagged. Obviously, we can ignore Haaland and Jesus, easy picks. That was just a way to get into the Liverpool fixtures for the next 4, even the Tottenham away. Just thought, would you want to get one of them? And Firmino, just as a pick for me, this doesn't excite me. For me, no. Firmino, that's a terrible joke. So I was went with Darwin, I think. So you can see a theme. We've got a lot of the same sort of ideas. Try to get into Everton, even though you didn't pick one, but it was in your mind. Dallo, the front 3, you were sort of thinking about Darwin, and then we're obviously trying to get into Newcastle. So I think for anyone that's watching this, it's on Wildcard, then what we are talking about, this is the template. I think that's the way forward, and then you kind of know the odd little places that are worth maybe mucking about with. And I think it's good to get a differential in there. I think Mount's a differential. I think White's a differential. Dallow's a differential. Gordon, Cody, any of the Everton players are a differential. So there's spaces in there. You don't want to fill up with all the players that everyone's got. So, and I'm really keen on Everton just now. It could bite us in the arse, but remember a month ago I was going on about let's target West Ham and Leicester when they were in awful form down the bottom of the table. So, and they turned it around and they got us loads of points. I feel that Everton are going to be that team that are now going to get us some cheap ways into points.
Do you know what Gordon didn't even think of? I like it. It's a great shout, and I think you might as well play. That's where the excitement comes in. Like we spoke about before, you know, it's easy to play safe for the big players, but a little bit of excitement bringing in somebody that maybe somebody else doesn't have. Like I should have done with Almiron and didn't. You know, like you did with Madison. Gordon could be another great shout. I mean, you know, it's that kind of slot that I think you do need to play about and have a bit of fun with. So I would say you want really to have maybe like 9 set players that you know for definite you're comfortable with, and then maybe 2 kind of punty ones. Just gives you that little bit excitement of maybe hoodwinking other people. Any given game week that you've done something that they've not, as I use that famous word, the old differential. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think that's where the interest lies. So. Okay, last couple of minutes. What are we thinking, captaincy? Although I already know the answer. What you're
Haaland. Like I just can't. I know I've seen a couple of pages talk about Foden. They've said that Brighton will be really good at sort of trying to isolate Haaland and just pile the pressure on him, big Webster and Dunk, and that will allow space for Foden to move in behind. Really good thinking, but I couldn't take the risk. Just in case. There's always a minutes factor with Foden. Obviously, he's played every Premier League game so far, but I just worry about that. And then I just can't go against Haaland as a captain pick. He's on penalties. He's just a monster. He blanked in the last game. He'll be raging. He's had a week's rest. So he's going to be like 90% captain this week. He's got to be.
He's not scored a goal in like what 180 minutes, you know. I think got to be some kind of record. Even though one of them we didn't play in. Yeah, I mean, I can't see past that. I don't really see the point. And I can kind of get the idea, you know, like people, like we're talking about their differentials, people like to maybe try and put it on Salah playing against Nottingham Forest, because like last season, that would have been your bread and butter. But Haaland is a monster, man. Like he just... And they seem to now really have cottoned on how to play the best around them. I say that after he's just had like a blank, but they do play away. And as much as Brighton are an interesting team, I don't think defensively they look as strong as they did under Potter. So yeah, it has to be. I don't really see the point in talking any other way. So other than that, maybe Salah, maybe Foden, but yeah, you've really got to stick it on Big Erling.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, well, we'll post both our teams, probably just after the deadline. I'll post my wildcard team and we'll let people know what I've gone for. But hope you enjoyed that. If you have any ideas, questions, anything you want to hit us up in the comments. Yeah, and if you've got any recommendations for beers or songs, yeah, do that as well.
In touch. Yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah, brilliant. See you later.
Catch you soon. Cheers.